Help support the show by joining the Patreon or becoming a YouTube member. Also, hit that like button and subscribe if you want more Browns-focused content.
Here's the question I want to start this video off on today. Do you think that what the Browns offense has produced this year is the absolute best that they can do? Like, regardless of how you feel about the 11 people that they're running out on the field at a given time, do you think that this is the best that these guys can look? If you think this is the best that these guys can look, you probably don't want to fire Kevin Stefanski. If you don't think that this is the best that these guys can look, then, well, the solution to that problem is obvious. And I'm at the place now. I think this game is what put me over the top, that I am confident that the Browns, as a team, as a staff, are not getting the most out of the 11 guys on offense. Now, what would the most be out of these guys? It wouldn't be very high. We're talking about an offense that at best has no business being ranked over 18th. We talked about this before the season when we looked at this roster and we said to ourselves, hey, the Browns offense isn't going to be that good. But if they can be anywhere from 18th best to 25th best, we'll call it a win. We thought that the Browns, looking at this roster, knowing the question marks that they were going to have at quarterback, the question marks that they were going to have on the offensive line, that with Kevin, they should be around 18 to 25th in the league. And I think that's a reasonable expectation to have had for this offense. The Browns offense has been the worst in the NFL. They're worse than like the New Orleans Saints right now. And I think the Browns have a better personnel than the New Orleans Saints. Maybe the Saints have better wide receivers, but we have David Njoku. I don't think we're maximizing our potential on offense right now, however low it may be. Now, don't get me wrong here. Doesn't really excuse how poor the play has been on an individual level, but we got to be honest about the biggest part of this problem, right? And for a long time, this was the opposite problem that we had with Kevin, right? When Kevin was here in 2020, it felt like he was getting the most out of everybody. You could watch this offense and say, man, we're getting a lot out of a little here on offense. Same thing in 2021, same thing in 2022. Up until 2023, we felt that way about Kevin because we saw Kevin get the most with it. We know what it feels like when this offense is getting the most out of the pieces that it has because we've seen that happen here. The last 2 years, it has not been the case, right? And with Deshaun Watson last year, we had the use case of knowing what Deshaun Watson looked like when Kevin was still getting the most out of guys and what he looks like right now, right? This last calendar year. Because Deshaun was here in 2022 when the offense was still doing really well under Kevin, seemed to have a lot, be ahead of the curve when it comes to the NFL, and he looked terrible. And in 2023, he looked a little bit better, but he didn't look amazing. 2024, he looked terrible, but every quarterback that's played for this team since 24 to start game versus the Dallas Cowboys has looked awful. That is a Kevin Stefanski problem, right? And the reason that a lot of people want to hang on to the idea that maybe it's not Kevin is because of what we have seen his first 3 years here. And I think that's legit. Like, Kevin was legitimately good his first 3-4 years as a Cleveland Browns head coach. But these last 2 seasons have been bad. I can't say that he's gotten the most out of these guys. I watched these guys on Sunday, and I don't think we're getting the most out of them. Even somebody like Dylan Gabriel, who, by the way, should have been benched today, right? Like, played so bad. If Shador were healthy, I wonder if he would have played, because it got to that point with Dylan today. And who knows if Dylan gets benched after the bye week. I think that they want to give him 6 starts, but I wouldn't be surprised if they pulled the trigger on playing Shador at this point. But I don't know how much of a difference it's going to make, because we also saw Joe Flacco play in this offense. And when I hear the complaints about Dylan, and why the offense looks like this, and people think it's just Dylan of why this offense looks like this. I'm hearing stuff that doesn't make sense when you factor in that Joe Flacco looked the exact same way in his offense. Here's what I mean, right? A lot of people are saying, oh, the offense looks like this because Dylan Gabriel can't throw the ball past 5 yards. And we saw Dylan Gabriel throw the ball downfield today. It was ugly. So, yeah, man, Dylan's not stretching the field. I agree with that. But is that why this offense looks like this? I don't think it is. Because Joe Flacco was the quarterback of this offense the first 4 weeks of the season. It looked just like this. And he's capable of throwing the ball downfield. So I don't think it's just that, right? I think this offense is so stale. The approach specifically, right? I know a lot of people use the word scheme, and I don't think the scheme is the issue as much as the approach is the issue. Right now, when you watch the Browns, count how many guys are in the box for the Browns. It's like 10 guys consistently, right? One wide receiver out wide. Now, the reason the Browns are sitting in this so much, I don't know. But watch the Browns play, watch how much they're doing that, and then watch literally any other team in the NFL and ask yourself if they're doing the same thing, right? The only teams that I see have, like, I think the Tennessee Titans are at a similar place, but they kind of run the same stuff the Browns run. But that's the number one issue with this team, is that their approach is just so predictable. A lot of times people are like, well, the Browns have 10 people in the box because nobody's worried about us throwing the ball downfield. That's not why there's 10 people in the box. The reason there's 10 people in the box is because the Browns are lining up with 10 people in the box. Like, it's forcing 10 people to be in the box. The reason the middle of the field is so tough to see isn't just because your quarterback's short. Again, you had 6'6" Joe Flacco start the season. He's the exact opposite of Dylan Gabriel, yet he looked the same. And the reason 6'6" Joe Flacco is looking the same is because they're condensed in the middle of the field. They're squeezing everybody. The reason the Browns are doing this, by the way, in my opinion, is because they made a bet on being able to whip ass on the line of scrimmage. So they want everything tight, everything heavy. So we're talking about 22 personnel, 2 running backs, 2 tight ends, 21 personnel, 2 running backs, 1 tight end, and then 12 and 13. So 1 running back, 2 tight ends, 1 running back, 3 tight ends. So they're running a lot of heavy personnel, a lot of eligible tackle. And their bet is if we get beef on the line of scrimmage, we're going to be able to push defensive lines and run the ball at will. It's not supposed to be shocking. It's not supposed to be unpredictable. But if you can win with force, it will work. And that's why a lot of the stuff used to work in 2020 when the Browns' offensive line was that good. The problem is we have not seen a defensive line that the Browns can bully at this point in their career. They have not bullied a single defensive line. They can't do it. They're not capable of doing it. So that approach has failed, which is fine. Okay. So you go with the heavy approach. You bet on you're going to be able to whip some ass, and it just turns out you're not good enough to do it. That happens. My issue with the offense is this. Why is it, if that's the case, have the Cleveland Browns been incapable of adjusting on offense? Like, we know that we can't whip ass on the line of scrimmage. We know that they're not strong enough. This is not something that's going to change over the course of the season. The first excuse for the offense was, hey, look at the defenses they're playing. Now that excuse is up. So what now is going to be the solution? They can't force a team into a lighter personnel package. Like, the Browns cannot force a team into nickel to save their life. They can't force a team into a dime look to save their life. They can't force a defense into different looks to save their life. They can't manipulate the defense and do anything. So all they end up doing is the same shit. I would respect it so much more if the Browns said, you know what? Our empty package doesn't look amazing. Yeah, we're putting Malachi Corley and Gage Larvin out wide, but we're going to try to win with Anthony. We're going to try to force these teams out of these looks and have some success and spread the football out a little bit and just do something different. Instead, we're just doing the same exact thing. And maybe there's a reason for this that's bigger than it's just the personnel, or it's just like what you could do because you don't think the players are good or whatever it is, right? There has to be a reason bigger than that to stick with this approach and have no flex in it. If there's not, then the answer is obvious. Kevin's got to go. Because this can't be the best that we can get out of 11 football players on the field. Because this doesn't look like an NFL offense half the time. We're far too easy to beat. I don't think that this is the case of a coordinator out coaching what he has. I think this is a case of a coordinator doing a bad job with a bad roster. And that's the part that sucks. I want to continue to talk about this, but before I do, I got to thank my sponsor, Sleeper. Real quick, just want to let you guys know Sleeper has a new offer here. They're offering a free $20 entry, no deposit required. And also, if you're a first-time user, you also will receive a 100% match on up to $100 when you use the promo code WORSTTAKE. Again, $20 free, no deposit required. Plus, first-time users also receive a 100% deposit match up to $100. Join Sleeper. Another point to make here, right? Because I know like it's been weird what people have been saying in the solutions, like, oh, maybe Brian Callahan was him not being here is the problem, or maybe they need to bring back Alex Van Pelt. I don't think that's the answer either. I don't think the answer is with assistance, because Alex Van Pelt was the offensive coordinator for the New England Patriots last year. He had Drake May last year, and Drake May gets a new offensive coordinator this year in Josh McDaniels, and he looks like a completely different dude than he did last year. You know, part of that is he was a rookie, he was learning, he was developing, but again, it's just more proof to me that the main philosophy behind the approach that Kevin has, that Alex Van Pelt had, has just gotten stale over the years. And it's gotten stale because NFL teams have had time to adjust their personnel and adjust their coverages to be able to more easily defend some of the things that used to, get chunk plays on these defenses a couple of years prior. So now you're at a place to where the run game is super inefficient, right? Let's look at the run game in this one. The Browns got that one big run from Malachi Corley, but then Quinshawn, 9 carries, 2.1 yards per carry. Dylan Sampson, 3 carries, no yards. Like, the lack of efficiency in this offense, it's been a problem all season. It's continued to be a problem today. And the reason they can't get any efficiency is because they're incapable of successfully executing anything right now. And I get that the offense can be bad sometimes. I get that the personnel is not amazing. I get that Dylan Gabriel is not a good quarterback. But man, do you think that they're getting the best out of these 11 guys on the field right now? Do you think that it's impossible to say that we're going to have this same conversation in a couple of weeks when they switch the quarterback to Shador? Like, I don't even think we're at the place, and this is the most damning thing for a 2-time coach of the year. I don't think I'm at the place where I think I could get a solid evaluation of some people. Like, how much of this is that the offense is just putrid? And like, here are some elementary things that are frustrating me with the offense right now. The Browns on a 3rd and 5 call up a design play. They put Isaiah Bond in motion so he can run a quick slant over the middle. Isaiah Bond drops it. Now, I don't mind the design of that play. I don't even mind the play call. It could have been successful for a 3rd down if Isaiah Bond had caught it. My issue is like, hey, you have Jerry Jeudy, who you need to get right now. And why aren't you calling that play for Jerry Jeudy? David Njoku, He got the ball like 2 times in this game. None of those times were designed for David Njoku. Like, we have guys who have made the Pro Bowl on this roster right now, on offense. And we're not designing them to get open. We're designing stuff for Isaiah Bond. We're designing stuff that's working with Malachi Corley, but we're designing stuff for Malachi Corley instead of designing stuff for Jerry Jeudy. And I know people are down on Jerry Jeudy right now because he's had the dropsies, but like part of Kevin's responsibility with that is to put Jerry Jeudy in a position where he can get some momentum, some confidence going. And Jerry Jeudy's been struggling for like 3 weeks now, and there's not been one game where Kevin has made it a point of emphasis to just get Jerry Jeudy going early. We're gonna throw him screens. We're gonna get him on an end around. We're gonna get him on some quick hitters early. We're gonna design some quick slant stuff for him early. We're gonna get him isolated one-on-one early. He's not doing any of that. He's doing that stuff for Isaiah Bond right now. Now, maybe this is just a mandate from the front office and they're not even trying to win games right now, and maybe that keeps Kevin his job here, but I don't know, man. I don't know. I'm not convinced. This is the stuff, right? Like, on top of other things, the approach, the personnel that we're using. Why is Gage Larvin on the field so much? This is stuff that the Browns can change. Like, this is stuff that they can change. They're not handcuffed to these mistakes. They're choosing to make these mistakes. And I think that's the most frustrating part. It's why I can't just sit here and be like, oh, well, you know, Kevin's put in a bad spot. The offense isn't very good, but it's because the personnel isn't good. I'm not seeing a coordinator be greater than his parts right now. I'm seeing a coordinator letting down what already is a bad offense. Like, straight up. The problem here isn't that the players are letting down the coordinator, it's that they're both letting each other down. They're both feeding into this cycle. It's insane to me. It's insane. They can't be this bad. There's no excuse for them to be this bad. And it's starting to affect everybody, right? Like, it just is. It just is. It makes no sense that we're targeting Isaiah Bond more than we're targeting the 2 Pro Bowlers combined that we have on this team. It makes no sense. That's my issue with the offense, and that's why I have no confidence right now that the solution is ever going to be Kevin Stefanski as he is right now. Maybe I'm wrong on that. And I hope I am wrong on that, because I want the Browns to be able to solve this problem without having to move a ton of pieces. But it just doesn't look possible right now. It really doesn't. That sucks to be at that place, but it just really doesn't. Somebody said that the team sucks because the owner sucks. I don't think that the ownership has been the problem. Like, yeah, you could blame ownership for the Deshaun Watson trade, and that certainly has put the team in a tizzy, but they shouldn't be this bad, though. Like, even when I consider all of the Deshaun Watson stuff and everything that they sacrificed to go and get Deshaun Watson and how much of a mistake that was, and even if I'm generous enough to assume that the only person in that building who wanted Deshaun Watson was the owner, right? You still shouldn't be this bad. You really shouldn't. You should be a little bit better than you are right now. Like, there's no way I can flip this and make it so that this is an acceptable result. And it's not just that you're losing to the Patriots. The Patriots are a better team than you. It's that you are just so inept on offense, hopeless on offense, 3 yards per play on offense. Outside of the first drive, 3 yards per play. I think we had 1 extended drive or 2 extended drives after that first drive. Are you kidding me? There's no way that 11 NFL players cannot be better than this. Okay? There's no way that some other coach wouldn't get more out this offense than what we're getting right now. There's no way that this is the best that the Cleveland Browns can do. And look, man, I'm desperate for solutions here, dude. Like, I hope by some miracle that putting in Shador somehow solves all these problems, right? But I think that's a really unfair expectation to have of the like 144th pick of the draft, man. Like, the kind of quarterbacks that come in and solve the kind of problems that the Cleveland Browns have are the kind of quarterbacks that day one go like, well, not day one, but that like are undoubted unanimous number one overall picks coming out of college. And even those guys can't fix everything, right? Like Andrew Luck couldn't fix everything for the Colts. Like, you need a Joe Burrow type to just come in and fix all of that, right? And yeah, by some miracle, maybe Shador comes in here and he becomes Joe Burrow, right? But, I'm not going to put those expectations on him. I think that's super unfair. Like, I think my expectation for Shador when he plays is that it's probably going to look the same as every other quarterback in this offense. And that's no real, like, slight on him as much as it is a statement on the offense. I'm hopeful that there could be an answer, but I'm going to be honest with you. I think we've seen enough evidence that the offense is contributing to the problems that we're having at quarterback as well. Like, it just looks like that's the case. I don't think there's really any way around it anymore. And I know that, like, maybe I've wanted a way around it, but that's what it is. You just got to look at it head on, because I don't want to be sitting here, best case scenario, in a Bengals Zach Taylor situation. Even if you get it right at quarterback, with whoever you get it right with at quarterback. End of the day, I want the Browns to be in the best position they could possibly be at to be successful. And for a while, I thought Kevin Stefanski would be part of that. I am finally at the point to where I don't believe Kevin Stefanski is a part of the best case scenario for the Browns. And that sucks because there are some positives that he brings to the table. I don't think the locker room culture is bad right now. I think it's pretty good. They were fighting their ass off in this game. But it doesn't matter if you can't get the offense to a respectable place. And we're just nowhere near respectable right now. We're so inept. We're worse than last year. It can't happen. It's not acceptable. One time it happens, we can blame it on DTR and Deshaun Watson. The second time in a row it happens, got to start looking at you, right? And he's had all these offensive coordinators, so there's really nowhere else to go. It's tough. And look, man, I'm not somebody here who's going to act like everything Kevin's done has ever sucked and try to rewrite history like he's never been a good coach, or that he doesn't still provide some positive traits as a coach. This team fought like hell in this game. They were out here getting fumbles and, trying to win onside kicks. Myles Garrett got 5 sacks in this game. You know what I mean? I'm pretty sure he's going to have a spicy press conference quote that I'm going to read after I get done recording this video. I don't care, right? My whole beef with Myles after the Pittsburgh game was that he did nothing and then complained about other people doing nothing when he did nothing himself. If Myles Garrett wants to complain this week, he had 5 sacks, he gets to complain, right? Because he produced. He did what his job was. So, yeah, I mean, like, they played hard. It's unfortunate that Myles Garrett gets 5 sacks and he's a footnote in this game and in this video. That should be the headline of this video. Myles Garrett got 5 sacks in a football game, but it's a footnote. We're going to forget about this. At the end of this game, even though the offense was as hopeless as it was, I don't think you need a culture changer as a coach, if I'm being honest with you. I think the culture that they have with Jim Schwartz and everybody who's here, they fought in this game. Like, they fought like hell. The problem is that the offense is so stale that they can't get enough points to make any of that shit matter. And look, Kevin does help bring that to the table. The fact that he's not the most reactionary guy does help the team keep a level head in chaotic situations. Is why you don't see the Browns become as dysfunctional as a team like the Miami Dolphins were last week against Cleveland. But at some point, you got to provide a reasonable offensive result for any of that to matter. And yeah, is that going to be easy to replace? I don't know. But you're going to probably retain most of the guys in this locker room. in Jim Schwartz and everything else. So you got a chance at retaining that part of this team, even if you move on from Kevin, but you cannot retain this offense. The solution cannot be, we're going to get him another assistant to try to fix it. The solution has to be, we got to get somebody else in here, or he's got to be the guy who can fix it. And right now, I am not confident at all in that being the answer. I'm worried that we're going to do another Hugh Jackson thing where we keep a guy for half a season next year, fire him in the middle of the year, and just throw our quarterback into the bad result, right? Like, it just can't continue like this, right? Like, and that's just the reality of it, you know? Yeah, I want to make this point too, because most of this video is going to be about firing Kevin Stefanski. So the natural question is going to be, hey, Quincy, who do you think they should hire if you want Kevin gone? I think the Browns have to be open to maybe the solution to their problem being somebody that we may not have heard of. I've seen Floating Bear in chat say there's no got to have them assistant coach right now. And that's true. But, you know, I don't remember Sean McVay really being a got to have him guy, right? Like, there are times where Kevin O'Connell is another example of a guy who I don't remember being a got to have him guy, right? You know, there are guys right now working under talented offensive minds who are ready for an opportunity, who might be able to take your offense to the next step, that it's the Browns' job to identify. I don't know who those names are, right? You know, I'm open to the answer to the problem as far as coach being and the solution being somebody I've never heard of. You know what I mean? Too often when we talk about coaching searches, we just fall back on the names that we know because that's all we can really evaluate is the names that we know. But this is where, you know, especially if Andrew Berry stays after this, which I expect Andrew Berry to stay, that's where Andrew's going to have to do his job and find out who are these guys who have their finger on the pulse and go out and get one of those guys, right? That's where DePodesta's going to have to do his job. Like, they're going to have to figure out who has their finger on the pulse and who that guy is. And if that guy is somebody we've never heard of, I'm okay with that. You know, I don't need a high profile coach to walk in here. I just need somebody who can get more out the offense than we're currently getting. You can keep Jim Schwartz. We just need to get more out the offense right now. You know, I think Jim Schwartz would be a perfect person to keep. He's a former head coach. So if you hire a first-time head coach, just keep him. I don't think it'd be that hard to convince him to stay. So, yeah, like, you know, I don't want to get caught up in the name game of coaches here, but the Browns have to solve a problem this offseason, which is this offense is unbearable right now. And it's been unbearable for 2 years. They have to identify, and I think I'm at the point to where I'm ready to say it, Kevin's not part of the solution, so he has to go. So you got to find somebody who can get more out the offense from a coaching perspective. I think looking at offensive minds who are ready to step up is a perfectly reasonable place to go there. And then you got to get better personnel. You got to get better on the offensive line. You got to get better at quarterback, and you got to get better at wide receiver, right? However it is that you get better, you got to get better there. You got draft picks. You got free agent space. Got to do what you need to do. But yeah, if you're asking me, what do I think is next? That's what I think's next. This whole offseason has to be about. That was strange. Sorry about that. But this whole offseason has to be about getting the offense better. And it has to be more than surface deep. What the solutions we're looking for. It can't be, we're going to bring in this offensive assistant and we're going to bring back Bill Callahan and that's going to fix things. It's not going to be convincing. You know, I think the problem is structural with the offense. And that means that the people putting up the structures got to go, in my opinion. Sucks to be here, but that's where we are. Y'all have a great day. Have an even better night. And you know what sucks? Myles Garrett had 5 freaking sacks in this game. I talked about it for 2 seconds. 2 seconds. Because of the state of the offense. 5 sacks. And the game wasn't close enough for one of them sacks to matter. Can't keep putting your star player through this. Can't keep putting the defense through this. Gotta fix it. And maybe your solution isn't going to happen this year, But boy, if you walk into next year and do this shit next year, bro, you asking for the house to be burnt. I do think there's a way you could do this, by the way, where it doesn't include blowing up the entire team. I don't think you got to fire Andrew Berry, right? Like, I think there's a way to do this where you can keep Jim Schwartz, you can keep Andrew Berry, you can keep the elements of this team that have worked, right? You just got to get somebody else in there. Okay. Like, there's a way to keep some things intact because the whole thing is not rotten. You don't got to throw the baby out with the bathwater, right? Like, they drafted really well. The defense has been developing players really well. It's just the offensive side of the ball that's been a letdown. It just so happens that the offensive side of the ball is the head coach. So just got to fix that part of the problem. I think there's a way to do this without having to tear the whole thing down. But if you go into next year and you're betting on Kevin because you hired a new offensive line coach and a new wide receivers coach, and that does not work and it has predictable results, then you're begging for the whole thing to be burned down. You can salvage this thing and give yourself so much more time if you just move on at the end of the season from Kevin. And I think that's just what you have to do at this point. Unless we see something extraordinary after the bye week, I just don't see how we're going to get to that place where that's not the answer. This